Something changed in you. You can't quite explain when it happened or how, but somewhere along the way, you just started seeing things differently. You notice things now that you never noticed before. The way someone's words don't quite match their actions. The way a compliment arrives just before a request. The way certain people only show up when they need something from you. And the strangest part? You don't even feel angry about it anymore. You just see it. Clearly. Quietly. The way you'd notice the weather changing before a storm. Carl Jung called this one of the rarest forms of human evolution. Not intelligence, not experience. Something far deeper than both. Awareness. And once it awakens inside you, you can never be the same person again. You can never be manipulated the same way again. You can never be used the same way again. But here's what nobody tells you about reaching this level of awareness. It comes with a price, and understanding that price is what will set you completely free. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you today is for the ones who have already been through enough to finally start seeing clearly. Let me ask you something. Were you always like this? Always this perceptive? Always this careful about who you trust? I'm guessing no. Because Jung taught us that this level of awareness is never given. It is always earned, always paid for, usually in pain. It starts with something breaking. A relationship that revealed itself to be something very different from what you believed. A friendship that showed its true face at the worst possible moment. A person you trusted completely, who taught you, painfully, that not everyone deserves that trust. And in that breaking, something extraordinary happened. Your eyes opened. Jung described this as the awakening of the psyche. The moment when the comfortable stories we tell ourselves about the world around us simply stop working. You can no longer pretend that people always mean what they say. You can no longer ignore the patterns you see. You can no longer silence that quiet voice inside you that whispers, "Something is off here." Jung called it your intuition, and he said it is one of the most powerful psychological tools a human being possesses. Most people silence it, override it, choose comfort over truth. But not you. Not anymore. Because you've learned, in the most human, most painful way possible, what happens when you ignore it. Now, I want to talk about something most people completely misunderstand about manipulation. Because when most people hear that word, they picture something obvious. Someone openly lying. Someone clearly trying to control. But Jung studied the human psyche for decades, and he found that the most dangerous manipulation is never obvious. It is subtle. It hides in the spaces between words. It looks like someone who is always the victim, never responsible for anything that goes wrong in their life. It looks like guilt that appears the moment you try to set a boundary. It looks like love that feels conditional, warm when you give, cold when you don't. Jung called these psychological games unconscious patterns that certain people run, not always deliberately, but always at your expense. And here is what makes them so hard to see when you're inside them. They exploit the very best parts of you, your empathy, your loyalty, your willingness to see the good in people, your desire to give people the benefit of the doubt. The manipulator, conscious or not, finds the door in your heart that was left open by an old wound, and they walk right through it. You care too much? I'll make you responsible for my feelings. You fear abandonment? I'll threaten to leave every time you disagree. You need to be needed? I'll make myself helpless just for you. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. This is what happens inside manipulation. The patterns are running. The games are playing. And because they live in the unconscious, yours and theirs, they feel like just life, like love, like how things are, until you wake up. So when exactly does the shift happen? Jung observed something remarkable in people who had done deep psychological work, people who had been through enough pain to finally start examining not just the people who hurt them, but the parts of themselves that allowed the hurt to continue. He noticed that at a certain point, something in these people simply clicked, not loudly, not dramatically, quietly, like a lock turning, and in that moment, they became what Jung called psychologically individuated, separate, whole, grounded so deeply in their own sense of self that the old tactics simply stopped working. The guilt trip lands, and instead of spiraling, you feel only a quiet, clear recognition. This is a guilt trip. The emotional withdrawal happens, and instead of panicking, you observe it with something close to calm. This is a manipulation tactic. The charm offensive begins, and instead of being swept away, a small, steady voice inside you says, "I remember what comes after this. This is not cynicism. This is not hardness. This is wisdom." Jung said there is a profound difference between someone who trusts no one because they are afraid and someone who chooses carefully because they finally know their own worth. Fear closes you. Wisdom clarifies you. And once you reach that clarity, no one can take it from you. But now I want to talk about something nobody warns you about. Because becoming this aware, it isn't only freedom, it also comes with a loneliness that is hard to explain. When you can see clearly, you start to see everything clearly. Not just the manipulation, but the performance, the masks people wear, the games they play without even realizing they're playing them. And sometimes, you look around at the people in your life, and you realize that some of them were only there because you were easy to manage, because you didn't ask hard questions, because you gave without counting. And now that you see clearly, they become uncomfortable around you. Jung warned about this. He said that when one person in a relationship begins to grow psychologically, the dynamic almost always shifts. Sometimes the other person grows too, but often they pull away, or they try harder to pull you back to who you used to be, because who you used to be was easier for them, and that loss is real. Please hear me on that. It is okay to grieve the relationships that cannot survive your growth. It is okay to feel the loneliness of seeing clearly in a world where most people prefer comfortable blindness. But Jung also said something that carried me through understanding this. Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you. The loneliness of awareness is temporary, because the right people, the ones who have done their own work, who see their own patterns, who want real connection over comfortable performance, they exist, and they will find you, but only after you've become fully, unapologetically yourself. I want you to understand something about where you are right now. This awareness you carry, this ability to see clearly, to feel the shift in a room, to recognize a pattern before it fully plays out. This is not a burden, even when it feels like one. It is a form of psychological freedom that most people spend their entire lives never reaching. Jung called it individuation, becoming so completely, so consciously yourself, that the noise of other people's agendas simply cannot penetrate you the way it once did. You are not paranoid. You are not cold. You are not broken. You are awake. And here is what being awake looks like in real life. You stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided not to understand you. You stop shrinking yourself to make others comfortable with their own limitations. You stop mistaking someone's need for you for love. You start choosing silence over unnecessary justification. You start trusting the feeling in your body that says something is wrong here, before your mind has all the evidence. You start surrounding yourself with people whose actions match their words, consistently. Not perfectly, but consistently. And most powerfully of all, you start extending to yourself the same awareness, the same compassion, the same careful attention that you once gave so freely to everyone else. Jung said, "The most important question anyone can ask is, what myth am I living?" For so long, the myth you lived was this: I must give everything. I must trust blindly. I must earn my place in people's lives. That myth is over now. The new one begins here. I see clearly. I choose wisely. I am enough, exactly as I am. Before you go, I need you to hear this. The fact that you found this video, the fact that you watched this far, the fact that something in these words resonated with something real inside you, that is not an accident. You are not here by coincidence. You are here because something in you is ready. Ready to stop being managed. Ready to stop being used. Ready to step fully into the person this awareness is asking you to become. And that person is extraordinary. I want to ask you one thing before you leave. In the comments below, tell me the moment you knew. The moment you finally started seeing clearly. One sentence, one memory, one word even. Because your story might be exactly what someone else needs to read today, to believe that they are not alone in this awakening. Subscribe to the Inner Persona if you are on this journey of awakening, healing, and becoming fully yourself through the wisdom of Carl Jung. New videos every week. For the ones who are done being asleep. For the ones who are finally ready to see.